Hey everybody, it's James with Rowe-Thrush. Welcome to the next Rowe-Thrush live stream interview. Today we will be interviewing Hermann with Megapro Tools. I want to do a quick announcement for anybody viewing this. Please comment where you are located, what vertical segment you call on, and also have you sold any Megapro tools? We would love to be able to hear all of that from you. Before we get into it, I want to first explain a little bit about who Rowe-Thrush is. We're a manufacturer rep agency that specializes in Grainger. We represent just over 60 different suppliers, ranging from lighting and electrical, material handling, hand tools, pneumatics, safety and security, plumbing, and heating and air conditioning. As I said, we specialize in Grainger. We have a lot of great resources available to the Grainger sales force, such as verticalized line cards, segment-specific sales flyers for our suppliers, the Rowe-Thrush SharePoint site that houses all of that material, as well as Rowe-Thrush videos as well. And with that, would like to welcome Hermann to the show.
Hey, James, thank you very much. Very glad to be here. Very excited. I have to admit, this is my first live streaming event. And so, yeah, good stuff.
It's great to have you here. Really looking forward to this. I have a little bit of a personal connection to Megapro. We were talking about it. You're already fully aware, but when my father, Bob Thrush, actually joined Rowe Marketing Group, you were the first supplier that he brought in to Grainger. And when that happened, either before or shortly thereafter, I was a mechanic at the time, and he actually gave me a Megapro screwdriver. And this is the driver itself. This is an old Megapro automotive driver. And when my dad gave me this driver, he's like, I want you to test this thing out. I want you to abuse it, see what you think of it, and let me know. Get back to me. I'm looking to get them into Grainger. And so I did just that, Hermann. I dropped this thing 100 times. I actually purposely ran it over with a car, and it survived. And so then I ran it over with a truck, and it survived. And as you can see, the retractable bit cartridge still works just as smooth as it did before. This handle is super tough, not broken. You can't really read Megapro anymore, but a very high quality tool right here. And I still use this thing on a regular basis.
I love that story. That is so cool. I call them stories from the trenches. People that have actually used the driver and, to your point, abused them and dropped them and just worked with them, right, in the real world. And it's so cool when I hear a story where the driver has survived to this day and still functions. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, this thing's probably close to 20 years old. I mean, it's worn, that's for sure, but it's still fully functioning.
Right
So, before we get into the story of Megapro and what you manufacture and whatnot, tell us a little bit about yourself, Hermann. What did you do before you founded Megapro, and what kind of led up to that?
Right on. I'd be happy to. And if you'd allow me, I'd love to give you just some very, very brief Coles notes that lead up to that stage. But I was born in Austria, came to Canada in 1954, went to high school, graduated in 1967, and immediately began playing music. I became like a full-time aspiring rock and roll musician, recorded a couple of albums, actually 5 albums. I've got 2 of them here, just in case anyone is doubting this. Okay, this is the truth. So it was an incredible learning experience. And by the mid 80s, I was married and had children, and it was time to get a day job because the music industry just simply wasn't cutting it. So my first job was at Ackland's Grainger. Ackland's the Canadian arm of Grainger, and it was, and then shortly thereafter, started working in a paper mill, which is where I first got the idea for, started thinking about the Megapro screwdriver. And up until that time, I just circling back here really quickly, Megapro, pardon me, multi-bit screwdrivers have been around for a very long time. I have here a couple of little interesting samples that I picked up in antique shops along the way. These go back to 1880, and they are made out of wood. They have a screw-off cap, which is probably familiar. And guess what? There's bits in here. Can I get that? Yeah. So there's a variety of bits in here. And so this is so it was this kind of screwdriver, the one with a hollow handle and a screw-off cap, that led me to that idea first, like, oh my goodness, how could we improve on this? And yeah, maybe I'll leave the story for there as kind of a prelude, but that's basically that's while I was working at the paper mill, I was thinking about multi-bit screwdrivers. All right.
That's wild. You told me this the other day that you had some multi-bit drivers that went back to the 1800s. I had
Yeah.
no idea that they were that old. I remember before I got my Megapro, I had another name brand manufacturer of multi-bits, and it was similar to that. It was a plastic handle, and you unscrewed the end cap, dump them into your hand, hopefully not dropping them. And then you had to kind of go through them and find the bit that you wanted, and then somehow dump the bits back in without dropping the cap and the bit that you just took and pop it. It was very difficult. And I actually lost many bits to that. And
oh, I know that scenario. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, it's very inefficient. And with your retractable bit cartridge like this, that you can easily turn around to be able to find the bit that you specifically want, take it out, and pop it in. I mean, just how easy is that? And I fell in love with it right away.
Right on.
So before we get into more about the Megapro story, just to get our viewers to know a little bit more about Hermann, the inventor of the Megapro, what's your favorite movie and why?
My wife and I just went to see the most recent James Bond movie, the Daniel Craig, No Time to Die. And I have to say that one of my favorite movies of all time was an earlier James Bond movie way back when, From Russia with Love. Don't ask me why. That movie sticks in my mind. It was just a fast-paced, well-written, action-packed, quintessential James Bond with Sean Connery. And I have to say that. And I love the theme music. And it was I love that movie.
Yeah, Sean Connery, by far the best James Bond actor. I would say Daniel Craig is probably a close second,
Yeah.
but my favorite is one that many people don't like very much, and that's Roger Moore. They found him to be too campy, and just those movies weren't as good as others. But I still liked him a lot. And if I had to pick one James Bond movie, at least, and this goes back to my childhood, it would be Octopussy. I just really love that one. And my favorite thing with all of the James Bond movies, as probably most boys and whatnot, was always when he would go and meet with M and learn about all the new gadgets that he got in the car with the retractable headlights and machine guns or whatever, ejector seats. I mean, just so many cool things. And maybe that's the technical aspect of my brain working that just loves that kind of stuff and those gadgets. So
there were some great gadgets in From Russia with Love. Where he pulls the dagger out of the briefcase, and it was really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, tons of great stuff, and I'm looking forward to going and seeing the new one. I saw that it was out in theaters, and I was like, oh my god, how did I miss that? So I definitely got to go out with the wife and go see that soon.
Yeah.
So with that, tell me a little bit about the Megapro story. So you explained how you were working at the paper mill and you got the idea to make a retractable bit cartridge, but where does it go from there?
Well, it started with just thinking about this idea, like there's got to be a better way of storing bits inside the handle, and then that led to some sketches, some concept sketches, which then eventually led to my very first working prototype that I cobbled together with parts from a hobby shop. So, there's a piece of plexiglass tubing here, and here you see a very early rudimentary version of a retracting cartridge. And this became really a defining moment for me, because I thought, holy smokes, with some engineering work and some industrial design work, this could maybe actually become a product. And so with that, I did contact an industrial design firm who I still deal with to this day, and they came up with the very first, formal engineered kind of drawn concept, which led to a first full-on working prototype. Pardon me. And then by late 1991, we were making our first version Megapro screwdrivers.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And seeing that your prototype, I've seen the picture of it too on the Megapro website, but
Mhm.
I've never seen it, like actually functioning and
Yeah,
being used. So that's really cool.
right
Really
on.
like that. Thanks for sharing that with us.
No problem.
Um, so when it comes to the customers of Granger, what types of segments would your products fit well within?
Well, I'd have to say, like the very first one that comes to mind um, is, it's a very broad heading: maintenance, repairs, and operations (MRO), which I'm sure many of our viewers are familiar with. And literally, with the uh, with the really broad range of screwdriver tips and every Megapro handle, if you're a maintenance guy, whether it's in a hospital, a subway station, a library, airport, there's always things that need to be maintained, and all of these items that require maintenance um, are made by literally probably thousands of different manufacturers, all of whom use their own particular fasteners. They could be using Phillips, Torx, Square, and so on and so forth. And with the inherent feature of the Megapro retracting cartridge, with 7 double-ended bits here, and all the different bit loads that are available, chances are that a maintenance guy is probably going to have like 95% of whatever task he encounters during his day. He'll find a screwdriver tip to match it in the retractable cartridge of the Megapro screwdriver.
And we got another portion of the slide that will pop up that goes into all the different handles or the different designs with the bit loads.
Right on.
So looking at this here, for one, our number one selling driver with Granger specifically is the tamper-proof. There's 2 versions, actually 3 versions of the tamper-proof. There's a ratcheting one, the tamper-proof one, and the tamper-proof 2, all with different types of safety security type fasteners. And that's what's so great about these is, if you're an elevator repairman, we have a driver for you. If you, need hex or Allen key type bits, we have one just for you. The other cool thing that I've actually done, I actually have my toolbox at home has, I think, every single Megapro there is. But I've actually taken some of them and I've taken some of the bits out that I don't use, and I've customized the bit load by putting in other bits. That way it's for a specific task. And I think that that's something that really kind of differentiates you guys as well, that, your Granger customers can buy those bits separately too.
That's a great point, James. And maybe an example might be, if you're a maintenance guy, like in a hospital, there are so many kinds of different equipments available, all the monitors and sensors and what have you, again, made by different manufacturers. So if you're a guy, a maintenance guy in a hospital, and you're routinely needing, like, for example, a metric 3-4 millimeter hex bit, you could just simply put that into another driver, because that's the one that you always use. So you custom load it into your driver, as you observed before. That's a terrific feature of being able to customize your own bit load.
Yeah, and you mentioned healthcare. Hopefully the Megapro driver they have is the pink breast cancer awareness driver that you guys have, and you
Mhm.
just take one of those bits out of that special pink one, which every pink driver that Megapro sells, $1 is donated to breastcancer.org. So, I mean, great, charity that you guys are participating in. It helps bring awareness, because how many people do you see carrying around a pink screwdriver? Not very many. So I'm
Indeed.
sure it's going to generate some questions regarding that. So,
Yeah,
Thank you also for doing that too.
yeah, you're very welcome. We've been with the breastcancer.org, that association. It's got to be 5 or more years, and I actually just remember writing a check actually like a couple of weeks ago for the annual. We make the contribution annually, and so um, happy to do a little part. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. My mom went through breast cancer twice actually, so it's great to see that. And we actually were promoting it earlier this month on LinkedIn. We have a sales flyer for that pink driver. So if anybody wants to see that flyer, just reach out to me and I'll share it with you. So when it comes to the types of solutions that I'm sorry, when it comes to the solutions that Megapro can provide, what types of customer business issues or CBIs can you guys solve?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, we have all these custom bit loads. We've designed the bit loads per industry, right? So if you're in the HVAC industry, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, we've got a driver for you, and that would be one example. Electronic drivers, and going back to the tamper-proof, there are so many devices now in so many different industries that feature tamper-proof screws. Like for example, I didn't even know this until not that long ago. On the gas furnace in my house, the gas regulator, it has tamper-proof screws on it. And why? I mean, to discourage people that really don't, maybe are not, maybe shouldn't be mucking around with a regulator on a gas furnace. Leave that to the pros. So um, tamper-proof screws have just become so widespread now, and I don't think there's a month or a year that goes by where another 3 or 4 different types of tamper-proof fasteners are introduced, which led us to have the tamper-proof 2. We had the first opening bit load the original tamper-proof driver, and there are so many more tamper-proof screws coming out that we actually came up with a second one, which I think is now starting to get a bit of traction because they're becoming more and more widely used. And I don't doubt for a moment that maybe in another 2 or 3 years we might be coming out with a tamper-proof 3. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and like I said too, that the one tamper proof is the number one. So I mean, right there you have a safety solution, and the fact that you have multiple double-ended bits, that also helps out with productivity because instead of your customers having to carry around 6 or 7 screwdrivers, they only have to carry one around, and that also can help reduce the back and forth of having to go to a tool crib to get another screwdriver because I didn't know that I was going to need a tamper-proof bit. So
exactly. And
yeah,
that is a very real advantage and a real benefit where you don't have to go back and forth 13 times, especially let's say you're up on a ladder and working, doing some maintenance work on an overhead fan, and oh my god, it's like a number 3 Phillips bit. Oh, wait a minute, it's right here. So yeah,
yep.
very, very efficient.
Yeah, my personal experience was laying in the door jamb of a car with my head under the dash of a car, and instead of having 3 or 4 screwdrivers with me, I had my Megapro, and I could just quickly change it out to remove whatever panel and other components I was working on at the time. So sometimes getting into that position, laying underneath the dash of a car, it's uncomfortable and it's hard to get there. So
Indeed.
so another great example of that.
Cool.
So tell us a little bit about Megapro manufacturing.
So for sure. So we originally started manufacturing in the Michigan, Indiana area way back in 1992, towards the end of 92, and we've been there ever since. Then in 2003, we actually started making screwdrivers here in Canada. So we're kind of the new kid on the block for the manufacturing, but those are the 2 main locations for manufacturing in North America.
Yeah, that's great. And actually, when it comes to all of the hardened plastic drivers, those are all made in the U.S.
Correct.
When all of your ratcheting and the other ones that have a different form to them, where there's rubber inserted or placed on them, those are the ones that are made in Canada, correct?
Correct. Yes, all the soft grip handles are made in Canada, and the original single material made out of Triax 1120 are made in South Bend. And speaking of that plastic material, it's kind of a little feather in our cap that since we started making this driver, uh, I am not aware of one single driver that has ever where the handle has ever broken. So it's a very tough resin, and it's an ABS nylon alloy. This is a tough material. I can attest to that through experience.
And that's a fantastic feature to point out. And also, not only do you manufacture, in North America, and you have this heavy duty plastic, but your drivers also come with a lifetime warranty. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. If any one of our drivers fails for uh, apart from misuse or obvious abuse, we will replace them without any question. And we've been doing that. Yeah, I mean, it's really funny because I had a fellow come to our office once here in Vancouver, and he had a Megapro screwdriver, and the shaft is like bent at a 45-degree
It's
angle.
not a pry bar.
Exactly. I'm going, uh, but anyway, just for an act of goodwill, we gave him a replacement driver and said, yeah, a reminder, it is not a crowbar, it's not a chisel, it's a screwdriver, but c'est la vie. Those
I
are
can
between, yeah.
I can honestly say I've used them as pry bars before. I've used them as scrapers to scrape gaskets off, chisels with a hammer. I've used this one actually. And I probably shouldn't be telling you that, but but I mean, sometimes when you're
Oh,
working on something, you got to get it done quickly, and so
absolutely.
it happens. But yeah, as long as everything is function
Yeah.
used properly, lifetime warranty on it, and they've never had to replace one due to that, except for in that case that you said somebody bent the shaft.
I don't know what he was trying to open, maybe a bank vault door, because you're not going to bend this shaft very easily. You're going to be applying some major force to it. But
Oh yeah,
but
oh
the
yeah,
end cap, you mentioned that you occasionally whack it with a hammer or whatever. It's tough. I mean, the end cap,
yeah.
the thickness of this, it is definitely tough. So it will definitely withstand like a very nice degree of you know abuse and work. What can I say?
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like we got a comment here from Mark. He was just giving out the hex driver,
Nice.
and he gives a Granger skew. He said it's a game changer for putting together furniture.
Wow.
That's absolutely right, Mark. So actually, our office, we get new office chairs every, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years or so, because they just wear out. And office chairs, you guys, your hex driver has the bits that are needed for office chairs. It makes it so much easier,
Yeah.
especially when you're putting together 12 to 14 office chairs and you're doing it, for like a couple hours. It's just so much quicker. You don't have the binding of the little L wrench that comes with those chairs, because you have a nice, screwdriver in your hand. So,
Yeah.
uh, and and
The
he
most
mentions also toys too there. So great point there, Mark.
Indeed, the most common DIY furniture size, whether it's a chair or a table or a cabinet, is 4 millimeter hex. There's also 3, 5, and 6 millimeter, all of which are in the Megapro hex driver. So, assembling office furniture with a Megapro driver is really, it's like night and day difference between struggling with the little Allen keys that come with it, or most of the time. So it's a really good one to know, including the toys.
Yeah, definitely. I use it too with toys. Sometimes the battery covers, they have screws that hold them in, and that one will work for that too. So we've talked a lot about Megapro and the fits that Megapro has with Granger customers. Tell us what the Megapro advantage is. What makes the Megapro screwdriver so special? Please tell our viewers that.
I would be very happy to. So the main feature that sets Megapro apart from other multi-bit screwdrivers is this very simple retracting cartridge. I'm going to try and get in the camera here. So all you need to do is just give a little push on that end cap to release. It'll come out. The cartridge comes out. There's nothing to unscrew. There's no little ports or windows to look into. Just simply pulling out that cartridge. We introduced this retractable cartridge technology back in 1992, and respectfully, I think that to this day, I don't think anyone does it better. The second feature that tradesmen or anyone that uses the driver have come to really know is this rotating end cap. This is I can't say enough about this. This rotating end cap, first of all, it has a massive surface area, so it fits in the palm of your hand incredibly comfortably. No more blisters. If you need to torque on a stubborn fastener, you can push on the end cap with the palm of your hand and torque with the other hand, and just apply massive torque, like 2 or 3 times what you normally would, with no blisters. There's no blisters, no injuring the palm of your hand. So those are the 2 main features. Also have a rotating guide collar here, which allows you to maintain a much greater alignment and degree of control when you're starting to drive a screw, because it's like a rotating bearing point. The shaft, 12L14 steel, a very tough steel. There again, in all the years that we've been making Megapro screwdrivers, I've yet to see the bit strip out the inside of the hex broach in the shaft. It's very solid. It's deep seated. It almost goes in like over an inch. So there's a great seating for the shaft. It's very secure. What have I left out? I think I've got it here. Yeah.
Well, you already talked about the strong Tri-X handle too, and as I said before, I've ran this one over multiple times. I've dropped it 100. One part that I actually left out is I even left this driver under the hood of a car by accident. I didn't do it on purpose. I just forgot it. Not once, but twice. And the second time, well, the first time the customer came back later and I found it under there and I was like, oh my God, my driver. Oh. And the second time it happened, I didn't see it for a long time. And then one day I found it on another mechanic's toolbox, and I grabbed and I said, hey, that's my driver. And he's like, no, it's not. It's mine. I'm like, let me guess, you found it under the hood of that car, because I remembered working on it, that customer. And he said, yeah, how'd you know? I'm like, because I left it under there the last time they were in. I'm like, that is mine. He's like, well, I don't want to give it back to you, And I said, I'll get you one. Okay. I'm like, I know a guy that can get me one that, so I'll get one for you. I'll get you 2. How about that? And he was like, oh, okay. So I got my driver back even after leaving under the hood of the car. Thankfully, it did not fall out and get lost on the side of the road somewhere. But the other thing that I want to point out is the feel of a Megapro. When you open up the cartridge, it's a little, it doesn't come out easily. You kind of have to give it a little tug. And then once it comes out, it's got a special feel to it. It's almost like there's a vacuum in there. I have no idea how you did that, Herman. But also when you go to snap it back closed, it just kind of sucks it back in that last little bit. And it just has a tremendous feel. It's very unique to Megapro. I absolutely love it. And this one, even after all these years, still works just as good as it did the day that I got it.
Yes, this opening and closing mechanism, that's part of Megapro's secret sauce. There's a patented little component in here that you can't see, and it's what produces that really satisfying kind of elegant, smooth friction fit. And then when you close it, it's you're home. It's that sound, the Megapro sound of clicking shut. So all good stuff. Thanks. Yeah.
That's great. So we have a couple more questions left for the show. So I just want to do a quick shout out that any viewers that have any questions, we're going to be doing a live Q&A with Herman as well. So please start getting your questions in now. Also, any account managers, please comment where you're located, what customers, what segments you call on, and if you've sold any Megapro drivers. We would love to be able to put that up in the comments. So with that said, Herman, what do the customers have to say about Megapro? What are their responses to your drivers?
such a great question, and I can start by the comments that you made about your story. I just love stories like that, and we get testimonials all the time, completely unsolicited, about people that have their own stories to tell and the conclusions that they draw about the product, and it just makes me feel pretty darn good that we have found a place with many tradesmen in many different trades that have discovered the Megapro advantage and the aggregate functionality of this crazy Megapro screwdriver. So thank you. And yeah, the comments speak for themselves. Sometimes I almost have to blush when I read some of these comments, like this is the best screwdriver I've ever had, et cetera, et cetera. And I love the stories that where someone will be talking about, like, don't be borrowing my Megapro driver, or if you do, make darn sure you bring it back. Those are fun as well. But they're all incredibly positive, and it's all about the functionality. Something wonderful happens after anyone has a Megapro screwdriver for a week or a month or 6 months. They gradually discover all these benefits and features that are not obvious, like immediately obvious, but after use they go, holy smokes, like, how did I ever live without this thing?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the pattern. People really discover the Megapro after they use it, just like you did, James. I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, and we have a lot here in our office for obvious reasons. But I also have one in my car. My wife has one in her car. My wife has the pink breast cancer one in her junk drawer in the kitchen. I mean, they're perfect for glove boxes, for tool boxes, everywhere. So great product. So tell me, is there anything new coming out from Megapro? Do you have any new drivers or any other new products?
Oh my God, yes, we do. August the 15th, just a couple of months ago or 3 months ago, we launched the newest addition to the Megapro family. I call it the baby brother, and it's the 24-in-1 Precision, the Megapro Precision screwdriver. And the picture doesn't really do it justice here. It's actually only about 6 inches long. It's very small, and it features 12 double-ended, laser engraved, precision screwdriver tips, which again cover like an enormous amount of bases. Anything having to do with microelectronics or setting up digital networks, or camera repair, cell phone repair, laptop repair, anywhere where there are tiny little screws used, chances are with a 24-bit selection, chances are you're going to find what you need in this new Megapro 24-in-1 Precision screwdriver.
You see in the comments, we got Bill Barnhart talking about his sample account. He's wondering if it's still active. He needs a new driver.
I'm going to take that up with Bill myself.
So here's actually a comparison of a full-size Megapro driver. I'm trying to get it in the screen there, compared to the new Precision. So it's quite a bit smaller, but what's great about it is you still have that Megapro snap, when it comes to pulling it out. And as you can see here, trying to get it to focus, there we go.
Perfect.
So there's the bits, and you can still just rotate it around. I keep losing the focus there. Yeah. But what's also nice is on each bit is you have printing, very clear printing of what that size is.
Yeah. Lasered on there, yeah.
Lasered on, yeah. And my favorite part is the end cap here is super smooth. It's almost as if there's like a bearing in there or something, because it's actually a lot smoother spinning than a regular Megapro. So what's going on with that?
There is, I think you might have guessed that, James. There is, in fact, an actual ball bearing, like a tiny little miniature ball bearing, the one that you might find on a skateboard or something like that. So there is
Okay.
actually a ball bearing integrated into that end cap, and I'm humbly going to suggest that you could not possibly get a smoother functioning end cap. Isn't it great, James?
It is fantastic. It is
Right on.
super smooth.
Cool.
And actually, speaking of super smooth, your ratcheting driver, I remember the first time I used your ratcheting driver. I've used plenty of other ratcheting drivers in the past, other brands that are obviously inferior. But the amount of teeth that your ratcheting driver has, what is it, like 28 teeth or something like that? It has the
28
most
teeth.
teeth. It
Yeah.
is 28. That's I thought 28 rung a bell, but it has the most teeth in a ratcheting driver. So when you're in a tight location and you're having to ratchet that driver, you get like 3 or 4 clicks when with a competitor you would get 1 click. I mean, it's just
Exactly.
it's amazing how smooth your ratcheting drivers are too. That actually took place for my favorite Megapro driver when I used your ratcheting ones.
Thank you for that. Yeah, 28 teeth is a pretty fine mechanism, and competitors might have like 16 or 18. So 28 is a pretty significant step above that in terms of precision.
Yeah, that is great. So, would like to open up to questions now, and it looks like we have a question here. Is Megapro planning to attend the 2022 Granger show?
Happy to say that we most assuredly are, and I can't wait to see visitors there. We missed the last show because of the COVID, but we had the last one we were at, I guess, was 2 years ago, and it was just a great show. And I'm really looking forward to having Megapro present at the one coming up in 2022 next spring. Yep.
Yeah. It's like the end of February, beginning the first
Right.
week of March. So,
Right.
yeah, and that last time you guys went, I remember you guys had a fantastic location. You were on a corner,
Oh my
and
God.
every time I walked by or even kind of near your booth, like maybe an aisle over, I'd take a peek. And you guys were busy. You guys are always busy, but you guys were like extra busy, I think, because you had that corner booth. You had people lined all around it. You were there. I think it was Rodrigo was there with you
Yes.
too.
Yes.
And you guys, I forgot how many badges you scanned that year, but I remember following up on those leads, and you guys kept me busy.
Indeed, yes, it was a bit of a chore, making time for everyone that we possibly could, because you're right, there was a pretty good head count there at any given time of folks visiting.
We got another great question from Mark about the precision driver available through Granger, and I can answer that one.
Okay.
We have proposed it to Granger, and Granger has accepted to add it.
Right.
It is not yet in the Granger system, so for right now, you would have to go through Granger sourcing. But coming soon, hopefully in time of the Granger show, hopefully they'll be live at that time, and you'll be able to purchase it at that time.
Great stuff.
It looks like Mark had another question here about bits. What would you need to do if you lose a bit? Actually, with that, you guys have a full assortment of replacement bits available. And we have many of those, not all, but many of those loaded into Granger with SKUs. So
Right.
to me, that's actually perfect for your customers. If they're currently using Megapro and they have a keep stock solution with you, whether it's a vending machine or any other controlled inventory solution, you might want to talk to them about putting in a couple of the more commonly used bits into their keep stock, because they might lose them or break the bits, and they'll need something there.
That's such a great point. And yes, we absolutely do have a very wide assortment of our bits available at Granger, and it's probably helpful to know, for example, Phillips 1-2 or Phillips number 2 is by far the most popular bit. We get calls here. I love my Megapro screwdriver, but I've lost my Phillips 1-2. What am I going to do? But if you're a Granger customer, that would be very easy to get, and it would also make a lot of sense to keep that in the keep I'm sorry, I forgot
Keep
that.
stock.
Keep stock. That would be
Yep.
a top contender. The other ones might be the smaller spanner bits in the tamper-proof drivers. Inherently, because the geometry of those bits is so tiny, they are susceptible to damage just because they're so small. But manufacturers still continue to use that small size of tamper-proof, or pardon me, of the spanner bit. The larger ones, not so much, but those very small ones, those are that would make sense to have those in keep stock in the appropriate setting, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I am not seeing any more questions coming in. So with that, I think I'm going to wrap things up here.
All right.
Just want to do a quick announcement to everybody that both a video and audio recording of this live stream will be available on the Rowe-Thrush SharePoint site. So you can always go on there to be able to watch it, share it with colleagues of yours or anything like that. Our next live stream interview will be November 5th. And on that one, we will be actually interviewing Mobile Shop. They're a manufacturer of mobile tool carts. So looking forward to that one, being able to talk about the different cart solutions that they have. And with that, I want to thank everybody for taking some time out today to watch us talk about Megapro. Thank you, Hermann, very much too for joining us today. Appreciate everything that you do and appreciate you inventing a really cool tool.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here, and good heavens, maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Oh, most definitely.
Right.
I have plans on doing more of these with suppliers that we've already done them with. So looking forward to that. We'll definitely be in touch.
Awesome. Thanks again, and have a great Friday, everyone.
You as well. Thank you. And everybody else, happy Halloween too. It's coming up. We won't see you until afterwards. So so take care.
Cheers.